This week we speak about feelings of guilt and how we can often judge ourselves and our work unfairly. Could you be more kind to yourself and others in your judgments? We also talk with entrepreneur and professional art competition judge Daryl Goh about understanding objectivity and bias. My name is Nicola Anthony and I'm a sculptor at home during the lockdown. Without my metalworking equipment and my art studio, I am doing much less of this and much more small work like this. In my search for creative ways to problem solve during this time, I decided to share with you my learnings and my mistakes, along with words from my own creative mentors and coaches who are helping me so much right now, and of course, my two newly promoted studio helpers. So, every week I try to take the temperature of what is going on around me, and a topic that keeps coming up this week is the subject of guilt. And during this recession and new way of life, people are judging themselves quite severely, especially those with so much more on their plate or those with less work available who are expecting to get round to their entire personal to-do list and have set unachievably high expectations. Weirdly, I have even found myself taking on other people's guilt. So, for example, last week I was at a shop where a lady was encouraging an older gentleman in front of her to move forward because she said you're allowed more than 6 people in a shop of this size. But what I saw, and I think she didn't see, is that he was only 6 foot away from the person in front, so he could potentially endanger himself. Now, my mind has been replaying that over and over, and these things are happening so quickly and we're remapping, when is it right to step in? Is it really my business? Perhaps it is because maybe it's endangering someone's life. And all of those things are so different right now that we're all re-navigating how to do that and what our place is in society. Now, it struck me that guilt and self-judgment is quite similar to what many freelancers and creatives go through on a daily basis. Being our own bosses, we must assess our own work, and of course we are not always doing that very objectively, as we can be our own worst critic. So what is their advice? Guilt, it seems, can be similar to regret, wishing we could go back and change something we've done wrong, but we can't. Nature's purpose of giving this mechanism to us is that we should be teaching ourselves to correct our wrongs. The danger is that we can start making ourselves feel bad. I'm hoping that through talking to professionals, we can draw comparisons between personal and professional instances of judgment or criticism. We can apply these more objective, professional, fair processes to our personal self-evaluation. Now, this is something that I have thought about quite a lot over the years because as an artist, my artworks, my creations, I have to be very professional and business savvy about them. However, they're also very personal. They come from inside. I have an emotional connection to them. So finding that balance can be particularly difficult. And on this note, I would like to introduce a professional competition judge called Daryl Goh. He is an award-winning entrepreneur, art innovator and tech artist. He's a nominator and judge for several prominent art prizes, and he lectures at the Nanyang Polytechnic School of Interactive and Digital Media in Singapore. So, hello Daryl. Daryl, as a professional judge, I'm wondering if we can all learn from you. How do you separate personal or subjective preference from fair or objective judgment?
I think the process of judging for an art award is very objective, where you remove yourself completely from the process of looking at thousands of entries. You might be biased towards a certain form of media in art making, or even you might be biased towards a certain methodology or philosophy in art making, and that's pretty important where you remove yourself from the process, but instead look out for the values that the organization that's funding the art prize are looking for.
Do you feel that the process of looking at things so objectively has any impact on how you might look at other things in life, like your personal trips to galleries or even your own decision making?
Working in the arts, especially in awards, has made us more critical than we should be, especially when we are looking at hundreds of thousands of art pieces through the lens of a certain criteria for an art prize. On my own personal capacity and visits to galleries and museums, I try my best to engage with these works in a different way that I would engage with them under the context of art awards.
So looking at day-to-day life, have you found that people are negatively judging themselves or others more right now? Have you got any personal reflections or tips that you could give us?
So I think it's important for all of us to be able to remove ourselves from that first judgment or prejudice that we have and connect deeper with whatever of the stories that people have to say behind whatever we do not see. Experiences that others have been through that we have not been through, and I think in that way that experiences are able to inspire us to have a new perspective in life.
Thank you so much, Daryl. Thinking about what Daryl said about objectivity and the advice I've got from other entrepreneurs I've been speaking to this week, I would say firstly it is important to realise when we're judging ourselves unfairly. So what bias do we have? Of course, as we said, we're all our worst critic. So have we set unrealistic expectations so that we're always setting ourselves up for a fall? For example, did your objective to learn about the global economy, to read all of the books in your bucket list, or to become a yoga guru during the lockdown end up with you feeling fulfilled, or did it end up with you berating yourself? A quick behind the scenes, because a lot of you have been asking why I'm not showing you more of my artwork on these videos. So here we are in my messy tabletop here in front of me, and I just wanted to show you this, which is something I've been working on. And this little guy has words on it, which is be kind to yourself and be kind to other people. It is literally just paper with text on it. This is called a maquette, and it's a small version of a bigger work, or maybe I'll make a series of small pieces. So another thing I've learned is that it doesn't have to be something bad to send us into a self-guilting spiral. Talks with friends and with my networks this week have had recurring subjects of guilt over gaining weight, simply not being able to do more during this time to help other people. That's a real source of guilt for many of us, and that's really something outside of our control. Sorry, my pictures seem to be falling off of the wall today. So here is something I have mentioned before from one of my mentors, Deborah Henry Pollard, which is a great way to start to understand what is out of your control and immediately let go of any self-judgment in those areas. So here's what she says. Get a piece of paper and draw a circle in the centre. Around the outside of the circle, write down all those things that you can't control. As much as possible, let go of worrying about these things. In the centre of the circle, write down those things that you can control. These are the things that you can focus on. Although this seems obvious when you think about it, we do hold ourselves accountable for things which are outside of our control, or simply too many things which is not manageable and sets us up on a constant path to failure. Now, I think kindness is so important. It is Mental Health Awareness Week, and that's a meditation mantra that my father taught me about kindness. And it's really interesting how we're not kind to ourselves quite a lot of the time until we consciously say, you better do that. So I wanted to make this artwork. Hopefully you'll see this either scaling up or perhaps a series of small sculptures like this in metal or acrylic. And that is how many of my works begin. So welcome to this starting point for an artwork about kindness, and I hope to see you again next time.